Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Is this volume on? All right, we're good. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Before I call the meeting to order, I'll note for the record that I will serve as acting chair. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State for August 16th, 2018. As noted on the agenda, we welcome public comment and on any items before the board. Individuals can speak for up to 2 minutes, and if you're representing a group, for up to 4 minutes. Before continuing, I would like to read a resolution. And sadly, many of you know, of course, that Eileen McAvoy, who was an associate here and our corporate secretary, has worked with ESD for 35 years, as I expect all of you to work for ESD for at least 35 years. But I'm going to read a resolution in memory of Eileen from ESD, and then I'm going to ask Liz to share any personal anecdotes that she may have or remembrances as well. Whereas Eileen McAvoy ably served the New York State Urban Development Corporation for over 35 years, starting as a paralegal in 1983 and from 1990 in the critical and demanding position of corporate secretary. And whereas Ms. McAvoy's responsibility included not only the corporation, but numerous affiliates and subsidiaries, and whereas Ms. McAvoy's work involved scheduling meetings, overseeing the preparation of board materials, managing board members' appointments and terms in office, and compliance with a changing landscape of laws and regulations. And whereas Eileen McAvoy personified the highest values embraced by the corporation with her knowledge, skill, good judgment, professionalism, and collegiality, focusing always on the smooth and efficient functioning of corporate matters, and always with a chuckle and a sense of humor that was infectious. And whereas Ms. McAvoy leaves a legacy not only of highly developed policies and protocols, but of hard work, integrity, and friendship. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the corporation hereby expresses its deep and abiding gratitude and appreciation for Eileen McAvoy's long and faithful service and her tremendous contributions to the corporation and the entire state of New York, and extends to her family our deepest sympathy. Liz?
Thank you. So on behalf of the legal department, I thought I'd just share a few thoughts and memories about Eileen. First of all, you know from the board materials that there are dozens of people who contribute to the work of putting together the board materials and preparing for a meeting, and it requires a lot of discipline, it requires deadlines, and Eileen did that in her own style. She managed to get everything done on time, and she didn't do it quite with an iron fist, but she had a little sign, "I have flying monkeys, and I'm not afraid to use them." So she kept this in her office as a nice little memory that what would happen if you didn't get your materials in on time. She was a gem of a person. She was the person who, when she went to the checkout counter at the supermarket, she bought that red nose to help kids with cancer. But I would just say, even though she had her collection, we never saw her wear one. She didn't go that far. She was funny. She has, if you go in her office, you'll see her little cartoons. I also saw on her desk an article about a rare bird, and she was a rare bird, and we were very lucky to have her in the office. She also had a photo of a rainbow, and I hope that helped her through the tough times. She was an optimistic person, and she kept her head and up and her smile going even through a long illness. So I would just say she had a little cutout of an angel that says, "I'm watching over you." And I know, and we all know, that through her good work and through the legacy that she left, through the procedures and policies and the spirit that she left, that she's watching over ESD.
Great. Okay, we'll miss her. Thanks, Liz, for those comments. I've got to return to the more mundane subject matter of our board meeting and ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflicts of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of, let's see, July 19th? Thank you. Hilda, is there a second? Thank you. Any additions, deletions, or changes? None? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. Thank you. I'm just going to recap a few of the highlights in the world of economic development over the last month or since our last board meeting. The governor announced several winners of our downtown revitalization initiative, and the winners that have been announced since our last meeting include Auburn, New York, which has a wonderful downtown that's making a great comeback, Saranac Lake up in the Adirondacks, and in Central Islip on Long Island, which is developing transit-oriented development contiguous to their train station. So this DRI competition has been, I think, a real success and is very consistent with our and the governor's economic philosophy of revitalizing downtowns. Those of you who live here in New York City know you have a very robust downtown and that people get lost in sometimes, and have an incredibly dense and vibrant, walkable, transit-oriented, exciting environment, and that's important. It's important to, it's what next generation, not only next generation, but a lot of next generation people are looking for. And downtowns across upstate, went through some often very long stretches of disinvestment. And I often talk about the negative impacts of sprawl on the upstate downtowns. And that has happened. And trying to reverse the effects of sprawl and trying to create more vitality downtown is a key and integral part of economic development. And it's one of the reasons why the governor has advanced these competitions known as DRIs. And they're just wonderful for these areas. And it's not just upstate. There are other, places downstate, communities that could use some additional support in developing transit-oriented, mixed-use development and enhance their downtowns. So Central Islip and other parts of Long Island have gone through some amount of loss of young population as well. New York City has been a magnet, not just for young people upstate, but also parts of Long Island. So it's important to do these downtown revitalizations, and as you all know, place-based investments have been part of our strategy for some time. Consistent with that, the governor announced a $50 million state commitment, and he announced the winning projects as part of Rochester's Rock the Riverway. And this, again, if you look at what's happened in Buffalo, where we've activated the waterfront, taking advantage of Rochester's Genesee River and developing projects along contiguous to the river is an important part of bringing back downtown Rochester. So we're very pleased to do that project. We were just in Buffalo announcing $24 million for additional waterfront activation projects in Buffalo. The North Aud Block, which is about a 2-acre hole in the ground right now, we're going to bring back the historic fabric of that Erie Canal district and create a mixed-use neighborhood. Where we announced 13 different points of access and improvement along the Buffalo River, and we announced a project in collaboration with the Buffalo Maritime Center to rebuild a replica, or to build a replica of the packet boat that DeWitt Clinton used when he took the water from Lake Erie to New York City and married the famous marriage of the waters, the ocean and the lake, connecting and celebrating the completion of the Erie Canal, which has obviously had such an important part in the history. And that will be a multi-year project. It'll be visible to the public down on the Inner Harbor, and I know the Maritime Center is going to find ways for the public to be able to participate in that process. And then it'll be a celebration of the anniversary of the Erie Canal when it's completed. So that was exciting. We celebrated the opening, and the governor attended the opening of a project that this agency has been supportive of and has been the largest supporter of, the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. And I have to tell you, it is stunning. They did an amazing job with this comedy center. And if you've never been to Jamestown, or never thought you had a reason to visit Jamestown, and given how robust our tourism industry has been here in the great state of New York, Jamestown should be put on your calendar of places to see. They just did a wonderful job. They really did. And I take my hat off to them. And the state of New York that was a $30+ million project, of which $14 million over many years. We also gave them a new market tax credit grant. We've supported them through many rounds of funding. And the tourism economy is going to grow dramatically in Jamestown. You know, Jamestown is near the Chautauqua Institute, which is a great attraction, great wineries in Chautauqua County, and the historic Jamestown. Jamestown also won a downtown revitalization initiative like a year ago or 2 years ago, I can't recall. So they have a lot of development going on in Jamestown, mixed-use redevelopment, adaptive reuse of historic buildings, and this project helped revitalize the waterfront. And you should visit this comedy center if you like to laugh, which most of you do. It's going to be great for Jamestown. I want you to know we keep supporting these things. They actually, get done, and it feels good that we've been with them as their most significant partner every step of the way. We were in Albany recently, and I think there's an extraordinary commitment to infrastructure across the state. The governor, $100 billion commitment to infrastructure, and that includes transportation infrastructure. And in upstate New York, that has really benefited many of the airports. So you may be familiar with commitments and work that is underway in Corning, Elmira, and in the Rochester Airport, and Syracuse, and it recently completed in Plattsburgh, in Syracuse, and now in Albany. So we announced not only a significant improvement to the airport, but also Albany suffers from no direct access off the major thoroughfares to the airport, so it backs up traffic for commuters. This project will enhance the airport, but also give a direct flyover ramp to the airport property, and amazingly should reduce traffic in the afternoon by about 50% in that area, and in the morning by about 30%. So it's a significant investment, and I know the people in Albany were extremely excited about that. The governor announced a $2 million IDEA challenge in the Mohawk Valley focused on cybersecurity and unmanned aerial systems. You may know and recall the Griffiths Air Force Base is in Utica, and the drone corridor that we've been working on in support of that industry flies from Utica to Rome, New York. So that's a key strategic industry, and we have had really good success with these business challenges. We invest in innovation in Buffalo, 43 North, in Rochester, Luminate, New York, focused on optics and photonics, Genius, New York, and Syracuse, and now similar competition in Utica and the Mohawk Valley. So we're excited about that. Just yesterday, part of our Buffalo Billion 2 initiative was to acquire dozens, literally, of strategic parcels that were in the hands of one owner in Niagara Falls that really stymied, in our opinion, the ability of Niagara Falls to develop the way that it could and should. And we identified a couple years ago in our Buffalo Billion 2 strategy that we would try and acquire this assemblage of parcels. And at the USA Niagara Board, an ESD subsidiary, the board voted and has made a deal with the owner for slightly in excess of $25 million, I believe, the acquisition of all of his parcels of property. And so that is a significant step forward to continue to redevelop Niagara Falls. Vicarious Visions announced, and I'm highlighting this because it's a great example of how industry clusters form. Vicarious Visions, which was started by two brothers, which grew in the digital gaming industry in Troy, New York. It grew and it was acquired by, I forget for a moment the name of a significant public company, acquired Vicarious Visions. The brothers then started a digital gaming venture fund. And so they've been making investments in the industry. Meanwhile, the company that acquired Vicarious Visions just announced an expansion of over 100 jobs in the digital gaming industry. So we're excited about that. And finally, for those of you who keep up with some of the miscellaneous media in and about Buffalo, I just want to end by saying in 2011, when we laid out a strategic plan for Buffalo, we identified as one of the greatest challenges for Buffalo what we refer to as a battered image. Buffalo had a battered image, which made it hard to recruit people to Buffalo, made businesses, skeptical about continuing to invest in Buffalo. What's the future of this city? Can we attract talent here? Will we keep our young people? On and on. In the last 30 days, just the last 30 days, in addition to many dozens of other stories in the last couple of years, the New York Times identified Buffalo as one of the 52 must-see places in the world. And we had the reporter come and visit Buffalo and wrote a fabulous story about all that she experienced throughout the city. We've had newspaper stories refer to Buffalo as a millennial-driven renaissance. Buffalo lost dramatic percentage of its young population for 40 years until we have now turned it around in dramatic fashion. The notion of a millennial-driven renaissance in Buffalo was as improbable as the sun rising in the west and setting in the east. Okay, that is how improbable that was 7 years ago. And finally, the London Times, I believe it was, just last week, identified Buffalo as America's coolest summer city. And similarly, so it's been great I hope all of you take pride in the extent to which ESD's planning, strategizing, and implementing, and the governor's vision for bringing back the upstate economy is just so evident now, really, wherever you go upstate. I live in Buffalo, so I see it there more often. But I wanted to spend time just talking about some of these recent events. This is just in the past month. I make some remarks at some of these events, and I describe the governor as somebody who's following this perpetual progress and perpetual pursuit of progress in all of the state, and it's just amazing to see it. Our strategies are familiar to you all. We just keep doing it across the state, and I think it's working. Okay, thank you for paying attention to all of that. Let's see. I'm going to ask Glendon to present a summary of the projects. Glendon?
Thank you, Howard, and good morning, directors. The directors will be requested to consider 23 projects totaling $75,879,265 in grants. The projects include 7 regional council awards and 18 discretionary awards. The project will take place in 8 of the 10 regions, leverage over $122 million of additional investment, retain 470 jobs, and create 171 jobs in the state. Thank you.
Thanks, Glendon. Okay, we'll transition to the projects and ask Jim Fail of Central New York to present. Jim?
Good morning. I have one project for the board to approve for the board today. This would be a $30 million URI in Onondaga County. This is to support one of our 6 key strategic initiatives from the Upstate Revitalization Plan. This money will be going to fund what's called the Alliance for Economic Inclusion, which is a 24-member council representing all 5 counties in central New York. $30 million from the URI has been allocated and will be utilized to support projects and strategies to ensure that regional economic growth translates into economic opportunity within our distressed communities. Onondaga County in central New York has some of the highest poverty rates in the nation. This will help alleviate that. Onondaga County will administer the funds up front to earn proposals to maximize access in the region. Last fall, the council released requests for proposal in each of the 5 counties, receiving a total of 92 responses. Of those requests, 22 projects have been identified to receive $6.9 million in the first year. The awarded projects cover a broad range of issues and can be broken into 6 major categories: early childhood education, transportation, workforce development, post-secondary education, neighborhood revitalization, and access to startup funding. Highlighting a couple of projects. One is Shuttle to Work, which is a $400,000 project that provides a shuttle service that helps individuals get to work who otherwise have no means of transportation. This fills a gap when transportation has served as the missing link for some individuals to escape poverty and benefit from workforce development. This service will be $5 per rider for up to 6 riders per night. Another project is the Employment Pathway Program. This is a $700,000 project that connects people in poverty to career pathways within regional growth industries. And this, again, was a regional council URI initiative, and the first milestone has been achieved to start drawing down on this grant. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
Okay, are there any questions from directors for Jim Fail on this item? Are there any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, and seconded. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
I believe Joe Roman is going to go through 4 southern tier projects. Joe?
That is correct. Thank you, Howard. I'm just going to say I'm glad it's not raining here in Chemung County. We've had certainly quite a bit of rain. Anyway, the directors are requested to approve a grant from the URI of $4,320,000 to Unison Industries. That will be for capital expenses associated with their purchase of machinery and equipment, and also some renovations to their existing 160,000 square foot facility in Norwich, New York. The total project cost is approximately $28.9 million. This new growth will support growth in Unison's sensor product line and in their support of the aviation industry. This company, Unison, was considering multiple facilities across the globe, including Poland, Canada, Mexico, and also Florida. The project will retain 362 existing full-time permanent jobs and also create 76 new full-time permanent jobs. This project is consistent with the Southern Tier's Economic Development Council plan to encourage manufacturing and also research and development in the region, which are our major economic drivers. The project completion is expected in December 2019, and the company is ready for their first disbursement as they completed their first milestone of $5 million of investment in the facility and also in the M&E.
Joe?
Would you like me to continue?
Yeah. Did we just lose Joe? Have we lost everybody with that, I imagine? Okay.
Welcome to Reservationless Plus conferencing. Enter. Thank you. If you are the leader, press star now. Please enter your leader PIN. To start or join your conference, press 1. You will now be placed into conference. To mute your line, press star 6. To unmute, press pound 6. After joining the call, to record the conference for those who may miss this call, or for future playback, press star 2.
Hey, Joe, are you back?
Yes, I am still here, Howard. Would you like me to present the second project?
Yeah, we're gonna, have you go through all the projects, and then we'll give people an opportunity to ask questions on any of them, okay?
Great, thank you. The second project is Binghamton Precast and Supply Capital. The directors are requested to approve a grant from the Regional Council Capital Fund of $350,000 to Binghamton Precast and Supply for capital expenses which are associated with their construction, renovations, and purchase of machinery and equipment in their facility. They're going to construct approximately 4,500 square feet of new space on 2 floors. This facility will help them expand their markets and also contribute to future growth. The total cost of the project is $3.7 million. The company requested assistance from Empire State Development through round 6 of the CFA process to fill a funding gap. The project is consistent with the Southern Tier's plan to enhance manufacturing with the region and is expected to be completed in August 2019. The construction for this project has been completed, and they're very close to reaching their job numbers and just about ready for their first disbursement. The next project is Schuyler County Project Seneca. This is the first phase of this project. The directors are requested to approve a $550,000 grant from the Regional Council Capital Fund to Schuyler County for capital expenses associated with the costs of property acquisition, design, planning, engineering, and environmental mediation in order to complete the first phase 1 of this project. The ultimate goal of this project is to decommission 2 undersized existing wastewater treatment plants in the area and consolidate them into one state-of-the-art facility and one state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This will also open up a significant amount of land on Seneca Lake for new development. The total project cost for the first phase is $1.7 million. This was done in partnership with Schuyler County, Scoped, which is their local economic development group, the IDA, and both villages of Watkins Glen and also Montour Falls. They identified this need to provide critical improvements to regional infrastructure. This will support the CFA and was supported through round 2. It's consistent with our plan to support infrastructure investments that will help the region's economic development strategies, such as waterfront revitalization and also tourism, as Schuyler County is one of our major counties for tourism in the Southern Tier. The next project is the last project, number 4, is the Schuyler County Wine Production Facility. The directors are requested to approve a grant totaling $1,750,000 to Schuyler County Partnership for Economic Development Scope, that's their local economic development group, for capital expenses associated with infrastructure improvements and the construction of a 20,000 square foot ultra premium wine production, warehousing, and distribution facility. The total project cost is $9.9 million. The building will be located in the Schuyler County Business Park and be the first building in the Schuyler County Business Park. It will provide shared production space for new and expanding wine and craft beverage companies. I just want to point out, although it says a wine production facility is the title, it will also be for beer companies and beverage companies as well. Scope identified the need to address logistical issues related to the production and export of both wines and beer within the Southern Tier region, and this is an opportunity to help these companies grow and expand. It will support tradable sectors and increase exports within a significant industry cluster in the Southern Tier, and also support one of our pillars, which is to transform, grow the food and agricultural industry within our region. The project is expected to complete in December 2020, and the company is eligible, or the grant applicant is eligible for quarterly payments as construction is beginning. And that's it, Howard. I'll entertain any questions or.
Okay, Joe's taken us through four different projects in the Southern Tier. Are there any questions from directors on any of these four items? Any comments from the public on any of these items? Can we get a motion to approve all four items? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Eric. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, next up, from the North Country, Steve Hunt. Steve?
Good morning, folks. I'm presenting one project today from the North Country. The Jefford Steel Expansion Project is a Round 6 Regional Council priority project. We are hoping to award a $300,000 grant for Jefford's $1.5 million project to acquire additional property, expand its facility by 8,000 square feet, and purchase equipment to increase production capacity needed to support demand for steel fabrication. The company is a supplier and fabricator of structural steel products for construction and industrial uses. This expansion project will retain 24 existing jobs and create 10 new jobs in Potsdam, New York, and the project is substantially complete and on track for an October ribbon cutting.
Great. Steve, remind us how much the company invested.
The company has invested $1.5 million on this project.
Okay. Are there any questions from directors on this? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Do you have anything else, Steve?
Nothing more from me.
All right. Thanks for joining. Next up, Megan Taylor from the Mid-Hudson. Megan?
Good morning, Howard, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am presenting today a $750,000 regional council capital grant from 2016 for Phase 1 of Tuxedo Hudson Management LLC's multi-phase community revitalization and job creation project in the village of Floatsburg in Rockland County. Tuxedo Hudson Management invested just over $5.5 million to complete Phase 1 of its project to revitalize a section of the Route 17 corridor. The company has renovated and adaptively reused vacant and underutilized properties to transform a blighted community into a multifaceted tourist destination. A newly created complex with various amenities, including a bike shop, event space, market, and food truck, is now a hub of activity, drawing in tourists and local residents. The project will retain six existing jobs and create 21 jobs, including, and six have already been created. Tuxedo Hudson Management was founded in 2016 to manage the revitalization of the Tuxedo-Floatsburg corridor on Route 17, covering both Rockland and Orange County. The company manages and disperses all money for the project's assets, purchases, renovations, and staffs the businesses as they begin operations. Phase 1 of the project was completed in October 2017, and this project very closely aligns with the Regional Council's LIVE strategy, which seeks to revitalize the region's crossroad urban centers and encourages downtown revitalization. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Any questions from directors for Megan on this Sloatsburg corridor revitalization? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second? Thanks, Eric. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Mike Reese from the Mohawk Valley has one item, the Rome River Walk Village Capital Project. Mike?
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Board of Directors. The directors are being asked to approve an Economic Transformation Fund capital grant from 2016 in the amount of $1.5 million to the City of Rome to be used to demolish abandoned and decaying buildings near the former Griffiths Air Force Base to create a mixed-use development site. The City of Rome acquired the former Park Drive Estates and Patriot Wright Park Manor parcels following the closure of Griffiths Air Force Base in 1995. These residential neighborhoods had been used for base housing when Griffiths was an active Air Force base. A total of 143 structures were situated on approximately 80 acres of land adjacent to the Griffiths Business and Technology Park, the Rome campus of Mohawk Valley Community College, and the Rome Free Academy and the Mohawk River Trail. The abandoned structures were surveyed, inventoried, and determined to be unfit or unsafe under the Rome City Codes Enforcement Office and were recommended for demolition. The city administration, after completing a revitalization plan to advance smart growth principles and to complement the surrounding residential, commercial, and industrial districts, demolished the structures to create a shovel-ready site for mixed-use development. City of Rome anticipates that redevelopment of this site will result in new housing alternatives for the 5,000-plus employees currently working at the Griffiths Business and Technology Park. Total budget for the project was $1,650,000, and the project has been completed. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Hey, Mike, just tell folks about the Griffiths Business Technology Park, who people who've never been there are not familiar with it. Just give a general sense of what it is.
It's really the business center of Oneida County now. We've taken since 1995, we've redeveloped the Griffiths Air Force Base into a business and technology park. Many large employers, this is where our UAS test center is located. The Air Force Research Laboratory is located on site, with many spin-off companies working in one of our cluster industries, the cybersecurity industry.
And while you've got the floor, Mike, just talk to people about the business competition, the idea competition that we just announced. Let people know about that more.
Yes, we just announced a Upstate Revitalization Initiative grant for $2 million to the Griffiths Institute. That grant is going to be used in a business competition to complement their already several-year-old program called Commercialization Academy, which is a way for the Air Force Research Laboratory to take technology that they've developed for the military and then convert it over to a commercial application. So we've created over 20 new businesses already under the Commercialization Academy. Our new program, Idea New York, is going to enhance the prize monies. For the next 3 years, we're doing 2 cohorts per year with 10 teams. The winning teams will receive $300,000 in startup funds. We're asking them, we're telling them they need to locate their business in the Mohawk Valley for the first year of operation. So we're going to see continued spin-off of this technology into the commercial world and the creation of new businesses here in the Mohawk Valley and the creation of jobs that go along with those companies.
Okay. Are there any questions? Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions from the directors on the Rome Riverwalk Village Capital Project?
Is that like the same concept as the Kodak Business Park, or?
As the what?
Kodak Business Park? Is that?
Can you describe what that is, the Kodak Business Park?
The Kodak.
Kodak, sorry. Mike, are you familiar with the Kodak Business Park, kind of the old structures of Eastman Kodak that have been repurposed?
Just somewhat familiar with that, Howard. This was actually the residential neighborhood for the base that kind of surrounded the. It wasn't in the main acreage of the Air Force Base. The main acreage that we've redeveloped that into a business and technology park. We've demolished most of the older 1940 era Air Force buildings and have constructed new facilities for the companies that have located and created the jobs on the base. This particular Riverwalk project is the base housing that surrounded Griffiths Air Force Base, and we needed to knock those homes down in order to redevelop that site into a mixed-use development.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from directors on this item? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second, Eric, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, Vinny from the Finger Lakes, take it
Good
away.
morning, Howard. Good morning,
Okay.
directors. I also have one project for you this morning, which is to ask your approval for an Upstate Revitalization Initiative grant in the amount of $1.3 million for Western New York Cheese Enterprise to construct a $49.7 million, 30,000 square foot cheese manufacturing facility in the town of Pavilion in Genesee County. Western New York Cheese Enterprise is a subsidiary of Dairy Farmers of America, and this new plant is situated directly next to the Craig Station Creamery, which we also helped incentivize a few years ago. Both facilities are complete and operational. The new cheese manufacturing facility will create 30 jobs in total and already has 22 new jobs activate there right now. This project clearly fits within the Finger Lakes Forward strategy of encouraging ag and food production, particularly in the dairy industry in this part of our region. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Vinny. Any questions from directors for Vinny on this project? Comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. And second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thanks, Vinny. Jeff Nordhaus is here to present some Phase 3 broadband awards. Jeff.
Morning, Howard. Thanks very
Hey.
much. Morning, directors. As the directors recall, at last month's, thank you, Glendon. As the directors will recall, last month's board meeting, the Broadband Program Office presented the first series of projects associated with the Phase 3 awards, which were approved and reflected 73% of state funds for Phase 3. Today, we are presenting for the director's consideration the second set of projects from Phase 3. All Phase 3 projects were announced by the governor earlier this year, and by way of reminder, all projects were selected via the program's reverse auction, which awards funding to qualified bids based on the lowest cost per unit served. The Broadband Program Office is seeking the director's approval to fund 11 projects with 9 companies, which represents a total commitment of $31.6 million of state funding. These projects will leverage an additional $8.2 million in private sector funding for a total of $39.9 million. These 5 projects will address completely unserved areas within 5 upstate regions. As for the projects today, which include North Country, Southern Tier, Capital Region, Central New York, and the Mohawk Valley. The projects today will offer broadband service to 8,514 locations, so 8,500 locations, including 8,100 housing units and approximately 400 other locations, including businesses and other anchor institutions. All these projects will be complete in terms of construction by the end of next year. The remaining Phase 3 projects will be presented to the board in mostly in September. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Any questions from directors to Jeff on these broadband Phase 3 awards? So there'll be probably one more presentation of awards at the next meeting?
Yeah, I think
So-
there'll be one more bulk in September, and then there's one project that's having some sort of complexities,
Yep.
which might take, just that one
Yep.
project might take a little bit longer, but all but one will come next month, and then we'll be all set.
Okay, great. Questions from directors to Jeff? Questions from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second, Heather. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you, Jeff. Simone, okay, you got the microphone?
Yep.
Just bring it closer if you would.
Thank you.
And you've got Restore New York items. Take it away.
Today we're asking the directors to approve 4 Restore New York projects. The first is a grant of $1.5 million from Round 2 to the city of Oswego. In February 2008, ESD awarded the city a $2.5 million grant to assist with 2 phases of a revitalization project on the city's waterfront. On August 16, 2010, the ESD Board of Directors approved $1 million of the $2.5 million grant to complete construction of a 36,000 square foot expansion of the existing Best Western Captain's Quarters Hotel in downtown Oswego. This project was completed in August 2013, and $1 million in funding was dispersed to the city for that phase. The remaining $1.5 million in funding being presented today was allocated to create a mixed-use development at the Flexo Wire site, a location which once housed a dilapidated copper wire factory. The total site measures approximately 2.3 acres, and the city will oversee construction of 4 of those acres. The largest building will be approximately 58,000 square feet, consisting of 75 units of rental housing, and there will also be 10,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor. This project will be complete in April 2020 at a cost of $25.8 million. And the second item is a Round 4 Restore grant of $500,000 to the City of Middletown for demolition and removal of hazardous material and rubble located at the Middletown Community Campus. The Middletown Community Campus was formerly the location of the State Psychiatric Hospital, and following the closure of the hospital due to fire, the surrounding structures were abandoned and became a target for vandalism. This project will encourage revitalization of downtown Middletown, support elevation of the local housing stock, and encourage development of the industrial and commercial sectors within the local economy. And this project will be complete in November 2018 at a cost of $1.4 million. The third item is a Round 5 Restore grant, also of $500,000 to the City of Lockport for restoration and rehabilitation of the Tuscarora Club. The club will be turned into a mixed-use development in the downtown Lockport district, and there will also be a demolition of an adjacent building to create parking space. Total space that will be renovated is 18,000 square feet, which will add 10 upper-level apartments to the club, and there will be additional work to do asbestos removal and demolition to make the club code compliant. And this project will be completed in February 2019 at a cost of $550,000. The final item is a Round 5 Restore grant of $1 million to the Village of Holly Gardens. The project involves restoration and conversion of the historic former Holly High School into a mixed-use residential and commercial facility. Built in 1931, the 54,000 square foot neoclassical revival building is located within the Holly Village Historic District, and the village's municipal offices will be relocated to the converted auditorium space. This will free up street front square footage in the historic public square for new business and also create 41 new affordable senior housing units. This project will be complete in December 2019 at a cost of $17.6 million.
Great.
I can answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Simone. Are there any questions from directors on any of these 4 Restore New York items? Any comments from the public on these? Is there a motion to approve? Thanks, Heather. Is there a second? All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Simone, you have the floor, and you've got August non-discretionary projects.
Yes, I have one project. We're requesting approval for a grant of $300,000 to the North Country Family Health Center for purchase of dental equipment and staffing. And the North Country Family Health Center operates as an administrative organization managing multiple regional healthcare projects to maintain and improve the healthcare system for the soldiers and families of the Fort Drum Army Base. Nearly 20,000 soldiers and almost 26,000 family members are in need of healthcare services on the base. NCFHC provides equipment and staffing for dental healthcare services to these individuals. This project will fund the purchase of dental equipment and staff to serve the community of Fort Drum, and the project is expected to be complete in December 2019.
Okay, great. Any questions from directors on this item? Comments from the public? Motion to approve? Thank you. Second. Eric, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Simone. Okay, Jonathan Byer has 2 New Market Corporation projects. Jonathan?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Empire State New Market Corporation, or ESNMC, is a subsidiary of ESD and administers the New Market Tax Credit Program for New York State.
Jonathan, could you just move the microphone a little closer?
Sure, sorry.
Just because my hearing's terrible. Thank you.
Okay. Try to speak a little louder as well. Although the ESNMC board approves projects for New Markets tax credit purposes, the UDC Act requires the ESD Board of Directors to separately determine that any such projects would otherwise be approved by ESD and demonstrate one or more statutory goals. Copies of the ESNMC board materials for both Hornell, the first item, as well as Schenectady Boys and Girls Club, the second item on the agenda, copies of those board materials from ESNMC are attached to your ESD materials. I would also like to thank Howard for calling out the Comedy Club, which is our last New Markets tax credit transaction that closed this year. With respect to Hornell, on August 8th, the ESNMC board adopted a general project plan for fit-out and equipping of a portion of the medical office space for St. James Hospital in a new medical office building located in a highly distressed area of Hornell, New York. The board also authorized the related suballocation of New Market tax credits in the amount of $8 million and authorized the transaction closing. This project is a key component of the larger Hornell Medical Village to help transform rural healthcare delivery in and around Hornell, New York. Upon completion of this specific project, St. James Hospital will lease and use approximately 19,000 square feet in a new medical office building for the relocation and addition of multiple clinics and medical services. Through this investment, St. James Hospital expects to create approximately 12 and retain 73 full-time jobs. In addition, the expanded space in the new medical office building will nearly double the capacity to handle patient site visits. Finally, other tenants in this building are paying to fit out and equip their spaces separately, which will total at least an additional $6 million of investment. Accordingly, the project meets 3 of the statutory goals required by the UDC Act: creating jobs, increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income communities, and leveraging further investment in their communities. Do you want me to just continue to the second item?
Yep.
On August 8th, at the same board meeting for Hornell, the ESNMC board adopted a general project plan for the construction of a new approximately 39,000 square foot youth development center for the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady, Inc., in Quackenbush Park, a highly distressed area in the city of Schenectady. The board also authorized the related suballocation of New Markets tax credits in the amount of $6 million and authorized the transaction closing. The suballocation will be used to pay construction and other related development costs in connection with the project, including hard, soft, and transaction closing costs. The project is estimated to create 10 new full-time jobs and retain 11 full-time jobs. In addition, this project is estimated to create 63 construction jobs and offer a workforce training program. The project will offer multiple programs to ensure youth success and academic performance. The Boys and Girls Club has conducted a separate capital campaign to raise a significant amount of capital to build the facility, and other commercial and housing projects are in progress in the community. Finally, the project will be built to be environmentally sustainable and incorporate various energy-saving features, including heat recovery, high-efficiency HVAC systems, and LED lighting. Accordingly, the project meets 3 of the statutory goals required by the UDC Act: creating jobs, supporting environmentally sustainable outcomes, and leveraging further investment in their communities.
Hey, Jonathan, while we have an extra minute, will you just remind directors what the New Market Tax Credit Program is and its connection to the federal program, just so everyone is
Sure.
Familiar with it?
Sure. The program was enacted in 2000 and offers a non-refundable tax credit intended to encourage private capital investment in low-income communities. The Department of Treasury has a Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, which everyone calls CDFI because that's a mouthful, which allocates New Markets under a competitive application process.
And so we compete with other entities to get an allocation, which we in turn give out to projects, right?
Exactly, and it's very competitive, and a large part of the competition is your past performance in successfully completing projects.
Yep.
And we are always trying to, and it's in accordance with very strict deadlines as to when prior projects are closed. As a result, we did not, our initial allocation several years ago, we did not close all the projects in a timely way, and we went approximately 3 years, I think, without getting an allocation. So we're very happy that we got our current $55 million allocation. We've done the Comedy Club. We have Ellicott Station, which the board approved several months ago, and we have these 2 projects, and we're trying to close them all in September
Yeah.
to enhance our application for further allocations in the
Right.
future.
So in addition to sort of meeting all the qualifications around the neighborhood and all those statistics, the issue of readiness and likelihood to close and project completion obviously has to weigh on selection.
It's very critical. If you don't show that you're using your prior allocation,
Right.
it counts heavily against you in
Right.
getting future allocation.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and that allocation changes every year or every few years?
Well, it's done on an annual basis, and the amount that we get depends on the quality of our application, and I guess, from their perspective, the CDFI fund, what are the competing applicants? What are their projects like? So it's literally a competition, and it's hard to project. We hired a different consultant who came up with some more creative approaches so that we would stand out, since we hadn't qualified in the past. And one of those qualifications was to do a larger number of smaller projects, and there's a reason why that stands out, because it's very difficult to leverage a small amount of New Markets tax credits, because the program is so complicated that it just doesn't make sense to go through the effort for a $2 million allocation. And in fact, on one of these projects, it's in conjunction with another eligible CDE, community development entity, so that a lot of times projects will combine New Markets tax allocations from different investors.
And by complicated, you mean that the allocatee has to hire lawyers and accountants
And consultants.
and consultants to
Yes. And each of the New Markets tax credit consultants
Right.
has that same battery of professional support.
Right.
And then the documentation is reflects that need for all
It's part
that
of the
high-powered
Professional
professionals.
Services Full Employment Act.
Yes.
I get it. Having done one of these in my life.
And the competition is with, in a sense, projects in other states and other geographical areas in the country? So
Yes, and different eligible requesters for the allocation have sometimes different catchment areas. Some of them are bank-related subsidiaries who are doing projects across the whole country. Obviously, our state one is focused on allocations only in New York State, so we're competing with projects throughout the country, and that sometimes puts us at a disadvantage.
And it's a federal program, right? So the
Yes.
selection committee is comprised of representatives, I assume, connected to the federal government.
Yes, I'm not sure if they're employees or not of the federal government. No.
No, they're recommended by the CDFI fund. They're independent individuals.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from directors on this, these two New Market allocations that are being recommended? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Okay, Betty, if we'll pass the microphone over to you. And I just want to note that Hilda is going to recuse herself from this item, right, Hilda?
Yeah.
And take it away, the EAP Entrepreneurial Assistance Program.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, Board. The EAP has 24 centers that operate throughout the state, and last month, in July, the Board authorized the granting of 16 of these centers for $1.2 million. We are now asking the Board to approve and authorize the final 8 centers for the amount of $611,536, making a total award allocation for fiscal 18-19 of $1.8 million. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, let's talk a little bit, just for a minute or two, between Betty and Pravina on what the EAP is. Like, what does it do, generally speaking? Why do we have one? What is it?
The EAP stands to help new entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. The grants are competitive in that they are allocated to not-for-profit, well-established not-for-profit centers throughout New York State who are well-established within their community. And we leverage their resources in order to provide an additional program that they can offer to their local communities in helping small businesses create jobs and economic growth for distressed communities within New York State.
And there's a particular focus on women, minorities, dislocated workers, and also people with disabilities as well as veterans. So we score higher on average than if you look at national entrepreneurial assistance programs to help those, because those, especially women businesses, we have over 59% are minority and women-owned businesses, so to help them actually enter the entrepreneurial workforce.
Okay, great.
But so if I can understand the difference, it seems that on the EAP, it is through these nonprofit centers, they're providing sort of technical training for these entrepreneurs as opposed to grants to the company. So they're helping them understand how to build a business or do financing, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so it's a 60-hour training class.
Got it.
So they get a certificate out at the end of the 60-hour training class, which goes through everything from business basics, like what is a financial statement, how do you market your company, what is the competition, and particular centers. Some of them focus in particular industries. So, for example, we have a couple centers that focus on daycares and childcare, and what are the regulations, and we have different across the state.
So in a sense, you're helping to train these individuals to be better entrepreneurs and better business people.
Yep, and then we give them counseling
Got
past
it.
that, right, after they start their business, because,
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do you want to say anything about it?
After you said that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
No.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Hilda's recused herself. Do you want to say anything about the program,
Yeah,
Hilda?
so we assist prospective people that want to start their own business, develop their business plan. But in addition to that, after they are done, we also help them to get some money to fund their projects.
Got it.
So it's a very successful program. We got 2 centers, one in Elmira and the other one in Buffalo.
I should also say it's the 30th anniversary of the program this year. There you
Yes.
go.
All right, there you go. Pravina, you've got 2 venture
Yep.
fund items. Take it away.
Yes, so good morning. I'm here to present 2 venture items. Both of these venture items actually hit one of the governor's top priorities, which is supporting women-led business through venture investments. The first one also supports the second priority, which is bolstering the life science economy throughout New York State. So New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund is requesting the approval of an investment up to $1.7 million in ENB Therapeutics in a $7 million series. It's a $7 million pre-valuation. The investment will be allocated in 2 performance-based tranches. The first tranche is $121,428 will be paid upon closing, and the remaining 2 tranches will be invested when the company meets its predetermined milestones. These milestones are geared towards significantly de-risking the company's core technology and increasing its valuation. E&B is a minority women-led company, New York City-based, looking in biotechnology that was founded by 2 researchers right here from NYU. It's received previous support through New York State through our Accelerated New York Seed Fund, which provided seed funding for this entity. It is actually developing a drug that reverses resistance to cancer immunotherapy. Cancer immunotherapy boosts the natural capacity of immune cells to fight cancer. Immunotherapies have shown unprecedented long-lasting responses in such cancers as melanoma, non-small cell lung cancer. Cancer immunotherapy represents a genuine advance in attaining significant and sustained response rate. However, over 60% of patients treated with immunotherapy fail to respond to treatment, and there are left with very few other options. ENB's drug can help actually unlock the full potential of cancer treatment. So as part of our due diligence, we had in-depth conversations with immunotherapists, as well as other cancer and biology early-stage drug development companies. And we believe that everyone who we spoke was very, very favorable of this technology. The second investment is Kinvolved, switching topics from cancer to education. Involved is we are requesting an investment of up to $500,000 in a $1.6 million convertible note financing, subject obviously to our final legal and due diligence. This proceeds will go to build out the company's sales and engineering teams and expand the company's communication software and other ordinary working capital requirements. Involved is a New York State certified MWB company headquartered here in New York City. The company has developed a software which actually addresses the solution of chronic absenteeism, which is shown to show that 43% of high school dropouts have had chronic absenteeism since they were in 6th grade. So this actually is a software to help solve that problem. Kinvolve has actually shown through their core product offering that they have seen such dramatic improvements that the absenteeism in the schools that they support is 3% down versus overall most other systems that support this type go up 11%. So they've done a very good job. And they are looking for our support. This was also received state support through our MWB investment fund, which invested $150,000 previously.
Great. Are there any questions for Pravina on either of these two investment opportunities from the venture fund?
In ENB Therapeutics,
Yep.
Is that technology that's being spun out of NYU? Is that?
No, they're two researchers
Oh,
from
that
Edwards. Yeah. So it's not part of them. They were researchers at NYU. They got seed funding, and now they are actually looking to take this to the next level.
Got it. And in this case, it's an investment on the same terms, I guess, as other investors.
Yeah. So we co-invest in our direct fund. Yeah. We co-invest with other investors. So we're at the same terms and conditions, and we're usually the last part of the round.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions from directors for Pravina on these two items? Any comments from the public on these? Is there a motion to approve both of them? Eric, is there a second? Thank you. Heather, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thanks, Pravina.
Thank you.
Okay, Sam, the market order program, take it away.
The directors are being requested to approve this marketing and promotion contract with the New York Apple Association for $2.3 million. The term of this contract is for 12 months and will be funded through the Apple marketing order. The New York Apple Association will provide marketing and promotion of the New York State Apple industry through 7 marketing and promotion plans, including retailer, consumer, and food service activities, participation in and support of the U.S. Apple Export Council, support of industry research, providing access to information services, and U.S. Apple Association membership activities. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Sam on the market order program? Comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve? Yeah. Thanks, Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Sam. We have one admin item at the board meeting. Maria, legal services. Take it away.
Good morning. Thank you. Today, the directors are being requested to authorize a 1-year extension of a retainer agreement with the law firm of Sherman and Sterling for legal services provided in connection with the corporation's 1 Bryant Park land use improvement project. The general project plan for this project was approved in 2004, and it made possible the construction of a major new office building for Bank of America, now known as 1 Bryant Park, on the northwest corner of 6th Avenue and 42nd Street. This project was conceived in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, when many of the financial services companies that had been concentrated in Lower Manhattan had to temporarily relocate in order to continue their operations. ESD partnered with the City of New York, Bank of America, and the Durst organization to provide for the timely construction of this new facility that allowed the Bank of America to consolidate its several thousand employees that had been scattered over 5 separate facilities in Lower Manhattan into this new office building and to continue its operations here in New York City. The project also required required certain other public amenities, including the construction of certain subway improvements, one of which was the construction of an underground passageway that would connect the 6th Avenue subway station with the Times Square subway station. These improvements were to be done in 2 phases. The first phase on the 6th Avenue side was constructed by the developer at the time the building was constructed. The second phase was to be done by New York City Transit when it redesigned and reconstructed the Times Square shuttle tracks and the Times Square subway station. That redesign has now been completed. New York City Transit is ready to go ahead with that construction, but the updated design requires certain amendments to a subway agreement to which ESD is a party. A partner of Sherman and Sterling represented the corporation during the original preparation and approval of the GPP for this project. We led a small contract so that ESD staff could take advantage of that historical knowledge of the project and make that subway agreement renegotiation a little bit more efficient. We let a $45,000 contract, which is being funded entirely by the developer. There are sufficient remaining funds on that contract to complete this project, but the contract is going to expire next month. The Public Authorities Law requires your approval for any personal services contract that extends beyond 1 year, so we're simply asking for authorization to extend that contract.
Okay, any questions for Maria on this extension of legal services contract for 1 Bryant Park? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
No.
Great, thank you. Is there a second? Eric, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Other items have been provided to the board members that are informational only. There is no additional business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No.
All right, thank you all.